Hello, I'm Mark McCulley, and welcome to another edition of our journey through Advent to Christmas. Today, O is for observe. Observe. Today, we're talking about the three wise men that are recorded in Matthew chapter 2, who came looking for Jesus after he was born. And you'll see figures of wise men, kingly robe type people, in a lot of these nativity scenes. And in fact, in the one I've got right behind me right now. And they show up supposedly at the manger scene. Well, we'll get back to that. The word in the Greek there in Matthew 2 is magi, or great ones, and they could be kings, as was legend. They could be philosophers or astronomers, astrologers. And so they show up here in this story. So what was the big deal with these guys? Who were they exactly? Where did they come from? Well, we're not really sure whether they were kings or philosophers or what. And it says that they came from the east. Well, there's an awful lot of territory east of Jerusalem. East where? Well, maybe Babylon, maybe Persia. Those were both centers of astronomy and astrology and wisdom and philosophy and all those things. And so there was also a lot of Jewish people who had settled there in those two regions. And a lot of them were studying the stars and the skies and the celestial signs. And they were looking for the sign of the Messiah to come that they thought they would find in conjunctions of stars and so forth. And there's a lot of speculations about which conjunction and which year and exactly which one where in the heavens. But the point was that these magi found that and made the trip to the area of Jerusalem and Bethlehem. What were their names? Well, you can find various stories that'll tell you their names, but we don't really know. They're not recorded. Were they kings? Well, as I said, we're not sure. Were there three of them? Well, there were three gifts that it's recorded that they brought: gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and there's symbolism behind each one of those. But we're not sure if that was just because there was three gifts, or there really were three of them on this trip. It doesn't say. And when did they arrive? Well, sometime after the birth of Jesus, because it doesn't say they found the baby, it says they found the child, which is a word for an older child, maybe a couple years old. And were they all men? Well, we don't know that either. We really don't. It could have been there were women along. So what do we know? And what does what we know mean? Well, they were observing. They were watching the signs in the heavens, and they saw what they felt was important. And so they made a choice. They made a decision to make this long journey. And it might have been weeks. It might even been a couple of months. Some say it was 3 months long, riding camels across the desert and everything else. So maybe, but they'd made quite a commitment based on what they saw. They had been paying attention. They were alert. They were looking at the signs and trying to interpret them the way they knew how to do. And then they responded to what they'd seen. They saw the child. In fact, they were one of the few who saw Jesus early in his life and knew, within some percentage point, of course, who he was. They had come there deliberately to see him, and they had some idea at least who he was. And they were one of only a few. And then this happens perhaps because of what the prophet Isaiah had written many, many years before, that kings would come and give honor to this Messiah, this high ruler in Jerusalem. And so maybe indeed those words came true in this trip that they made to see Jesus. So that's what we don't know. And what we do know about the three wise men, so to speak, if there were three and if they were men. But what about for you and me? What does all of this mean for you and me today? I mean, that was a long time ago, folks, and we don't live over there anymore. Well, during this Christmas season, there are a lot of messages going around, and maybe God has some for you and me. And maybe he wants to tell us something and reach out to us in a certain way, because after all, God wants relationship with us. And if he's sending us little messages along here and there during this season, then maybe we should be paying attention to them, don't you think? Maybe they might tell us something really spectacular and huge and important. Maybe they're just telling us that God wants that open and intimate, even relationship with you and me. Maybe he's been telling you that for some time now. Maybe, I hope, that these messages that I've been giving here are some of those signs or messages to you. And if so, I hope they're making sense. And I hope that you will observe and listen. And I hope that most of all, you will make the commitment to go on that journey, to seek Jesus and to find him and to know who he really is, along with me and a lot of others. And we're all seeking that, no matter how long the trek. I'm Mark McCulley. Thanks for watching. O is for observe. Have a blessed day.